Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Amplify Your Business. Today, I'm going to be talking to Jeff Ball. He is the founder of Thrive Provisions, and as he likes to say it, just a farmer. But he's more than a farmer. He's an entrepreneur. He comes from a legacy of entrepreneurs down in southern Alberta, and he's doing a ton of amazing things on his ranch and a bunch of businesses that are related or adjacent to it. And one in particular that we're going to talk a lot about today is Thrive Provisions, which is a beef bar protein snack. And I'm just head over heels for this particular product because you sent me some samples, Jeff. I've tasted it, and this is something special that you guys have created. So tell me a little bit about your backstory, what you've been doing, and a little bit more about Thrive.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be here. Glad to share with you about one of our exciting new projects, which is Thrive Provisions, kind of born out of necessity or looking for, something else that added value from what we're doing on the farm. And I'm always seeking stuff that adds more value and is a useful product. And it was kind of born out of, me wanting to have a better snack out there for traveling and backpacking and exercising, whatever I'm up to.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I love about what you guys have been doing on your ranch, is all of those other businesses. And so I grew up in a similar situation, a ranch in northern Alberta. My family was very entrepreneurial, and you have to have multiple streams of revenue on a ranch. And there's lots of opportunity to try to create that. We never went down the road of value added in terms of like creating some sort of consumer packaged good like Thrive, which I really wish that we had, because I mean, we also enjoyed the smoked meats and jerkies and everything else that we were doing in our facilities at home there too, because we had a pretty good, slaughterhouse that we would run our own cattle through for our family, big family and stuff. But we never got to the point of really manufacturing something quite like you guys have. But it's really born, like you said, out of that necessity to utilize as much of the resources as you have. And one of the key things on a beef animal that a lot of people don't realize is there's so much that is not considered a premium cut, the majority of the animal. And so to harness that and really capture that added value, you have to create products like this to really do it, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And if I had known up front that creating a CPG and going to market and trying to sell us was going to be as difficult as it was, I would have maybe rethought it. But I mean, it's really, there wasn't one point, I have to tell you, that I didn't think that Thrive was going to be a good product. And even today, it may, who knows? Like, you don't start things thinking that it's going to be like a monster success. You're trying to recoup your costs and and make it so that it's scalable and you can, get the margins that you require to add value to your product.
Yeah. So you were telling me before we hit the record button that it was a bit of a longer process to get basically up and running with Thrive. So it's been in concept for about 3.5, 4 years or so. Can you tell me some of the earlier challenges, I guess, or your experience basically going through idea, to actually having a product that's on shelves in stores and being sold online?
Yeah, it was an interesting, a couple things that I'll highlight, but having the concept of making a meat bar, a protein bar out of meat, great. How do you do that? How do you come up with the flavors? Who do you go to? So we put our heads together and come up with, phoning people in the beef industry. Hey, we got this concept. So we ended up at the Center of Excellence in Calgary, which is a industry funded by beef checkoff dollars to highlight beef. So we went to them and said, hey, we had this concept about a meat bar. They're going to have different flavors. Wondered if you could help us. Hey, sure, great. So anyways, that was a great part of the whole thing. We had 8 unbelievable recipes and another product that we haven't launched yet into the market. And I'll have to tell you about that. I'm really excited about that one. Completely separate from a meat bar, but so we had our recipes, we had the bars, we kind of picked two that we wanted to go to market with. Then the next problem was, I had great recipes, we have no shelf life really, and it's not a commercialized recipe that you could take to a facility and get, you know, them to build it and package it and satisfy CFIA and everything else. So anyways, so then we went to the incubator in Lacombe. Craig, the meat scientist, kind of took hold of our project, and you know, it wasn't a quick process, but it saved us a ginormous amount of money doing it that way instead of going the, you know, the private industry way. So then then he helped us to develop it into a commercial shelf stable recipe. So then the next step was, okay, now we have a product, we can make it, we have a recipe, we've got two, what the hell are we going to call it?
Yeah.
So almost, you know, simultaneously we were looking for a co-packer and, you know, trying to get a name and a brand and something that meant something to everybody, or, you know, in particular us that were, you know, in the forest with it, that was meaningful. And, you know, and then after months of discussion, you know, we landed at Thrive. And man, that seems like such a long time ago, but I can tell you what, it was expensive.
just the exercise of going through all the branding and stuff, you mean?
Yeah, you know, and you know, having the branding people there with you, and you know, the advertising and the social media, and I mean, that's a whole beast in itself, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that was all kind of happening simultaneously, and it was a lot of work. Some of it was pleasant, some of it was very unpleasant, but you know, there was no point, like I said, that I didn't think, or you know, who, you know, we're working on this together, that it wasn't going to be successful, because we, you know, we believe in the product. I mean, that's how I've kind of led my whole life. If you can't believe in something, you know, that's how I was raised, you know, my grandfather, my great grandfather, and my dad. I mean, you know, you could probably identify it being raised on a farm yourself, you know, like if you don't have your word, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You know, this whole world, you know, it's a little bit, the CPG world anyways, it's a little bit, you know, nebulous in that fact, and the integrity I call into question anyways of what's on the ingredient packages of other products, just what they can print and what is actually in them, just absolutely floored me. That's a whole other topic, but anyways, what we decided to do is like make a really good wholesome product that we all really liked, and you know, whatever was on the ingredients, you know, it was right there, everybody could read them, and it had the smallest amount of ingredients possible.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that really stood out for me when I was looking at the ingredient list. Like I recognized what was actually in it, and yeah, the ingredient list was extremely small, and yet the flavor profile was unbelievable. Like I've never tasted, you know, a jerky or a smoked meat, anything like that has the flavor profile that yours has.
Yeah, I haven't run into anything like that similar. And like, I'm just thrilled with how it turned out. Just absolutely thrilled. Further to the ingredients, you know, some of that's dictated to us by our regulator, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which is involved in just about every level of business that I have on food and feed production. And so anyways, they go, well, we don't have a classification for a meat bar. We don't know where to put you, because you're not jerky, you're not smoked meat, you're not, you know, we don't have a category for you. So we're going to put you into in fermented meat products. Well, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. It doesn't matter what you think. This is what's going to happen. So we're in fermented meat products. So then we had to go to, you know, 2% salt. and it's like, you guys are pushing us to consume less salt. There's similar products coming from the US that are, way under 1.5% salt that are coming into Canada and we can buy, and you're holding us to this standard. Anyways, it was a really big thing to overcome, getting everything right with CFIA and, French packaging,
Yep.
your ingredients, what your shelf life is and everything else to start with. That was a big, we spent a lot of time at that.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of challenge to overcome. Right. And so then once you have the recipe, you have it shelf stable, you have your brand. Now you're looking for the co-packer. Walk me through that experience.
Okay. Well, we don't have a very big industry, especially here in Alberta, as far as co-packers and further value added products here in Alberta. So, a lot of the meat products, meat snacks, packaging facilities are either in Ontario or Surrey, BC. But we really beat the bushes here in Alberta because we're an Alberta product and we wanted to keep everything in Alberta. We really wanted to keep all the manufacturing, everything we could, as much as we possibly could, keep it as local as possible. Same, kind of the same vein as what we're doing already. But with that, it was impossible to do. I mean, we could find a facility that could handle meat products, but they didn't have the right packaging equipment, or they smoked stuff, but they for one reason or another, they weren't federally inspected. They were only provincially inspected. So that was another problem. So, to be able to find a facility that can make a very specific product that's federally licensed so you can distribute your product across Canada, it was a problem. So hunting down and finding a really good co-packing partner was a long, arduous project in itself. And if I had known, I would have started that from the very beginning, because we already were ready to develop. We had a commercial recipe. We were ready to go, and then it took us another year to get an arrangement that looked like we could grow with a company that was on board with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, interesting. That's a huge timeline. Yeah, for sure. And so if you're trying to do that sequentially, you're waiting for a year. Yeah, that really puts everything on hold.
Yeah, it did. We just lost a little bit of momentum. And then, and I think we should be pretty proud of what we did. We managed to go from concept to manufacturing in 2 years.
Yeah.
Then we started our first production run in March of 20, and then COVID hit. So heading to market right as the COVID lockdown happened, then it took a little more wind out of the sails, and we kind of had to press pause a little bit, although we were still working hard behind the scenes, with the social media, trying to get the word out there. But if you can't hand samples out or have people try the bars, it was very tough to get buyers and distributors to get behind it. And
well, especially for your product, because your product is a new category. It's a different kind of meat product, right? And so people need to taste it before they're going to buy it.
Yeah, for sure. And so we refocused a little bit on what we were doing on social media, just the things we could do. Sent the odd samples out, had Zoom meetings up the yin yang like everybody else did. But no one was purchasing anything. They, like the grocery stores, they weren't purchasing anything new. And that made sense to me, right? If I was in their position, I would have done the exact same thing. They were just trying to exist through that time period, like everybody else. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, and knocked us back on our timeline a little bit. Increased my cash burn significantly. so that, that still is, we're really starting to get traction now, which is great. Everything's kind of returning to normal. Buyers are, flocking to it. We got distributors coming online. We're getting ready for our US launch here in June. We got a new product that's hopefully going to start here sometime late summer. And so anyways, it's been a challenge. I've learned a lot from the whole process. Getting further up the chain from primary production, it's been something I've always yearned to do. But I tell you what, I've got a great education so far in how it all works, and maybe a little bit being naive and no paradigms of what was involved, maybe led us here.
Yeah. You made a comment about had you known what the journey was going to be like, you maybe wouldn't have started the journey down this particular one. And I think that's a common theme for a lot of entrepreneurs. I know for myself as well, in those early days of Amplimedia, I was running that off the side of the desk while I was running another business. And had I really known what I was doing in terms of setting that all up, I would have done things a lot differently. And I definitely would have been much more like, I don't know. But now, 10 plus years into it, it's like, yeah, no, that was the right decision. And I'm glad I didn't know what I now know. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done it. And it's gotten to a place of great reward now. But it was a struggle for a long time. And I definitely was scratching my head going, what the hell was I thinking? So when you look back, knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently, if anything, through that process? Besides, I know you mentioned the co-packers, you would have started working on that earlier on in the development stage. But besides that, is there any other lessons that you learned along the way where you're like, okay, I really wish I would have had this lesson earlier?
I think trying to do it all myself, in very small, tight group, probably wouldn't do that again. I would seek more outside help, some more people that have specific experience in CPG, instead of all being neophytes in it. And that's basically what we were. I mean, I've rectified that situation since, quite handily, I might add. So very happy with that outcome. I would have done that differently. There are a ton of grants out there that, that's a whole forest in itself. But
Yeah.
there's a lot more of that. There's, for new products and value-added products, there's a tremendous amount of help out there. I would have maybe spent some more time doing that, looking up that. It's all past now, but those are probably the two things that I would have done differently in Thrive. And of course, the co-packer, I just assumed, I was like, man, people just line up to make this product. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, totally. So what do you see as being the biggest challenges now to get to the next stage? So you're in stores, you have distributors coming online, you're selling online, you're pushing into the US. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge, and how are you going to overcome that in the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
Well, I think the biggest thing that, we're kind of already trying to anticipate is demand, and how we can keep up with, raw product coming in, which, we're producing ourselves, but it's a very specialized product. It takes, a lot longer for it to come to be raw product in our the Thrive part of the business. So that'll be a challenge. We have a few things kind of that we're trying to do to ramp up more production in the event that it really starts taking off, i.e. when we launch and down into the US. I suspect that'll, just from the inquiries we've gotten already, that there's pretty good interest in it.
Yeah, and so in terms of overcoming that, that's more your supply management, the growth of your maturing of your animals, and trying to raise them in a way that you can get them through to basically butcher weight in an efficient way then, eh? Or is that what you're
Yeah,
referencing
yeah.
there?
I'll back up a little bit. I think it's one of the things that really sets us apart at Thrive is, when you look at other meat snack businesses, um, you know, and I'm not saying they don't have good products, but they just go and try to find the cheapest raw input that they can for an ingredient, i.e. beef or pork or chicken. And it doesn't matter where they get it from. And a lot of times it comes from Australia, South America, or New Zealand. It's
Yep.
basically utility meat, right? And they, it doesn't matter where they buy it from. They just want the product, and then it's manufactured either in the US or Canada, and it kind of becomes a product of that country because they further process it. And then all of a sudden it's a product of Canada. And, they're trying to change some of those rules now, but I just think it's disingenuous. Another one of being out of integrity of what you're saying you're doing, that I've observed, being in this side of the business.
Yeah.
But what really sets us apart. I mean, it starts with a cow, and it's on grass, and I know the cow. I know how old she is. I know when she was born. I know what pasture she was in last year, and I know what bull she was bred to last year, and I know what bull she's going to be bred to this year, and I know her offspring, for the last 3 or 4 years before that, and then I know what that calf, how it was handled. I know what it was fed. I know if it was treated because it was sick. I know all this stuff, and I think that's an unrealized value yet. Right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to intertwine all of it together, and it does come with some inherent risk, right? Not enough product because we're calving cows right now, and those calves, they won't be ready till the earliest would be, August of 2023.
Yep.
Right. So there's quite a lag in what we're trying to do in controlling the whole production cycle from basically conception to the hotel restaurant industry to packaged goods to meat snacks and new products we got coming on. So I think it's one of the things that really sets us apart. How we haven't really focused on telling that side of the story a whole bunch yet, because we're really trying to get Thrive as its own business to get traction, and slowly building in the story on the backside of what is all behind Thrive. Like there's a massive support in behind Thrive all the way down the chain from basically conception to a packaged meat protein bar.
Yeah.
To be other products.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's unique about what you're doing compared to a lot of other consumer packaged good companies is that they're buying the ingredients, right? You're taking it, you're growing it, you're raising it, and it's all being done right there on your ranch in the pristine, foothills of the Rockies. It's a great story, and I think it's a very important one, and I think there is a lot of value there, and that's that messaging and the marketing and just how you really position that at the same time as not having people, get too worked up about the fact that this animal that you've cared for since birth is now in a bar, right? I mean, there's also that issue with some of the consumers, right? So it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, no, it is a balance, and I get that part of the argument, right? Like it used to be a calf that may or may not have had a name, and sometimes they do have names here. I mean, like. We really like the cattle. Like that's the whole thing. Our whole lives and my staff, our whole lives revolve around taking care of cattle.
Yep.
And this is the outcome. So, I mean, if we don't have healthy cattle, we have nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. And so you have to care deeply about it. And I get the struggles and the challenges there because as a former farm kid, on our ranch, it's the same thing that, like it would end up on our table. And but there was there's something that people don't quite understand, I don't think, who haven't gone through that experience. And that is, if you approach it, with the love and respect of that animal and what the giving of life, it's a circle, it's a cycle there. And if you can really respect that and honor the animal, it's a lot easier actually to navigate through that, I think, from a psychological standpoint anyway.
Yeah, it is. It's 100% true. I mean, and that's how we view everything, like what feed ingredients are they getting, right? And what land does it come from? What land are the cattle on?
Yeah.
And then the manure, it's a byproduct, but yes, it's a very valuable nutrient that's recycled back into the land. We're taking care of the land. I mean, I think that's my primary job, is taking care of the land. And if you take care of that, then everything else falls into place. You have good, healthy animals. You have a good meat product that's healthy. No surprises, right? It is what it is. It's like, it's delicious.
Yeah, those are all byproducts of, like you said, looking after the land. You look after it. I used to, in a previous life of mine, sit on the board for the Forage Council here in Alberta, and so that was one of the things that a lot of the people were saying at that point. Some of the growers, they're like, "We're not in the business. The ranchers, we're not in the business of raising animals. We're in the business of raising grass. So that's really what our business is. The animal is the byproduct that comes from that. That energy gets translated into that beef product that everybody loves and wants to eat. That's super healthy, but we're really grass growers. That's what we're focused on."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different perspective for sure. So in terms of the market, then, like as you have tried to grow the business through COVID, there were some setbacks and everything else. You have really taken a multi-pronged approach to your marketing and and the sales channels that you have. So you have your online sales, you have what you're doing through all of the retail operations. You're pushing into the States. Do you have any other sales channels then for Thrive that I'm missing there, or is that kind of the core ones right there?
Yeah, that's the core ones for sure. The whole, the distribution, finding the right distributor that will pick up your product, believes in it, and gives you the time to plug it and push it on their customers is that was a bit of a job as well.
Yeah. And so being that you guys are a new category, how difficult was that? What did it actually give you an advantage because it's unique? So it opened up some doors that maybe would have been closed to other products that are, very much the same as the next one. Or was it challenging because they don't know where to categorize it either on their shelves?
Well, yeah, we sure have had that problem. And even in the same chain, you go into different stores have it all in different spots. So then we were having to go back and, try to standardize it somehow on what do you classify it as, point of sale displays or keto, or, it ticks a lot of boxes, right? So we're trying to standardize it, and we're learning a little bit where it performs the best at, and then trying to make sure the distributors and the retailers know that this is where it performs and this is where it doesn't perform.
Yeah. Now, and I also understand that it's interesting in terms of the consumer uptake for this product. Trudy had mentioned to me that it's mostly women who are purchasing it at this point anyway, which is different demographically speaking than some of the other meat packaged meat products out there.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that I have had to ask that question more than once.
Yeah.
Is this real? Like, I never suspected that would be true, but yes, for sure it is happening. And I guess the other thing I wanted to challenge to the snack food industry is you could actually have a premium snack food, right? Because there really is no premium snack food category. It's a snack food, right? And it's either beef jerky or a meat stick or pepperoni or whatever, right? I mean, that's all it is. I mean, it's a meat snack. It's just whatever you kind of feel like eating. Or if you got a sore tooth, you're not going to go to the jerky. That's the whole, premise behind snack food. And one company, basically controls, over 60% of the whole snack food or the beef snack food industry, right? And it's just a race to the bottom, right? Those are the companies that are buying South American product as cheap as they can, huge manufacturing facilities, and there you go. And they're in every gas station and my idea was I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be in every store. I wanted to be in the right stores for the right consumer that could identify the work that went into the product and exactly what the product was and what it stands for.
Yeah. Yeah. Really understand the value proposition of what you have put together here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that has cost me money, right? Because, you have to be patient. Like you have to be patient. You can't just jump at the first person that comes along and wants a pallet or two or three, right? I mean, I had to resist those to stay on course of what the product is, and not, trying to, commit company suicide either. But like, I had to, stick to, what, I thought Thrive stood for and what where I wanted it to be, where I wanted it to be positioned. And a product out of Alberta, I think, we should be proud of it. Like we should be proud of Alberta and the stuff that we manufacture here. And we need more value added.
Yeah.
And it just boggles me that we don't have more of this. We should embrace it. And I think people are waking up to that. Maybe in Alberta, I mean, Alberta beef is, we're self-important to ourselves. Outside of Alberta, maybe not so much. But, that's the thing that we need to get better at.
Yep. Yeah. Amen. I totally agree with that. Value add, all of our industries, we do such a poor job of value adding. We're so quick to jump on the export wagon for all the raw ingredients or slightly processed or slightly value added, but we can go right to the end. We have the ability, we have the product that people want, and you're creating it there. I mean, this is the thing, the first bite into the bar and having that flavor, it's different. It's a game changer. It's definitely its own category. You can tell right away. The flavor is just very, it's a higher end flavor profile. Like it's like sitting down at the difference between sitting at a local diner or sitting down at a really fancy upscale restaurant and having a steak. It's a different experience. It's a different flavor profile than what you get. And that's exactly where Thrive is at right now. And so I think you guys owning that premium category shouldn't be too difficult to do because you have the product that's going to basically deliver on that promise.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bougie product. There's no way around it. I mean, that's what I think of it anyways, but I like to cook quite a bit as well. So, once you start making your own bacon bits for your Caesar salad and grating your fresh parm, you'll never buy shredded stuff ever again, right? I mean, it's just, that's kind of how I, relate to the Thrive bar as far as a meat snack goes.
Yeah, it's a really good idea or a really good analogy or comparison there for sure. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and some of the lessons you learned. And hopefully it'll help somebody else who's wanting to venture down a similar path in terms of value adding another product in the agriculture or meat category as well. So really thankful for that.
Well, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure to speak to you today.
So everybody, if you enjoyed this episode, we have our archives over at amplifyyourbusiness.ca. You're going to be able to find all of our past episodes as well as our future episodes. And if you happen to be a business owner or an entrepreneur who has a great story, please fill out the form there so you could potentially be a future guest on Amplify Your Business. Until next time, everybody stay safe.